The rain poured down on the city like a relentless curtain,
shrouding the streets in a gray mist. Detective Jameson stood outside the dilapidated apartment building, a sense of dread settling in the pit of his stomach. This was the third murder in as many weeks, and the MO was eerily similar. The victim, a young woman named Sarah, lay on the floor of her apartment, a single bullet wound to the head.
Jameson's eyes scanned the room, taking in the scattered papers, the overturned chair, and the faint scent of smoke. As he began to process the scene, Jameson's partner, Detective Rodriguez, approached him. "What do we know?" she asked, her voice low and steady. "Not much yet," Jameson replied. "No signs of forced entry or struggle. The killer must have been someone she knew." Rodriguez nodded, her eyes narrowing. "I've been going over the victim's phone records. There's a number that keeps popping up in the days leading up to her death."
Jameson's interest peaked. "Who is it?"
Rodriguez hesitated. "It's a payphone number. But get this, the payphone is located outside a psychiatric hospital on the outskirts of town." Jameson's mind began to spin. What could the connection be between the victim and the psychiatric hospital? As they continued to investigate, they discovered that Sarah had been a volunteer at the hospital, working with patients who had been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. But it wasn't until they interviewed one of the patients, a woman named Emily, that the case took a drastic turn. Emily was a fragile, bird-like woman with a fair-off gaze. As they spoke, Jameson noticed that she seemed to be shifting, her eyes flicking back and forth like a metronome. "I didn't do it," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't kill her." Jameson's instincts told him that Emily was telling the truth. But as they dug deeper, they discovered that Emily had a dark past, one that was marked by violence and trauma. And then, just as they thought they were closing in on the killer, they received a cryptic message: "Look again at the first victim." Jameson's mind reeled as he thought back to the first murder. The victim, a young man named Alex, had been killed in a similar manner to Sarah. But as they re-examined the evidence, they discovered something shocking. Alex and Sarah had been married, and their marriage had been marked by turmoil and abuse. The killer, it seemed, was not just a random stranger, but someone who had been deeply embroiled in the victims' lives. As Jameson and Rodriguez closed in on the killer, they were met with a shocking twist. The killer was not one person, but two. Emily, the patient with dissociative identity disorder, had been living a double life. Her alternate personality, a dark and violent entity, had been responsible for the murders. But there was another player in the game, someone who had been manipulating Emily's alternate personality from the shadows. As Jameson and Rodriguez finally unmasked the killer, they were met with a chilling smile. "It was all just a game," the killer said, their eyes glinting with malice. "And you two were just pawns." The rain continued to pour down outside, casting a grey mist over the city. Jameson and Rodriguez stood frozen, their minds reeling from the shocking twist. In the end, justice was served. But the case would haunt Jameson for the rest of his career. The darkness that lurked within human hearts was a chilling reminder that, in the world of murder and detection, nothing was ever as it seemed. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and follow us for more.